Here's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove podcast. Week 1 review of college football. Week 2 preview of college football. And Week 1 kickoff for the NFL. We're going to give you our picks and get you all ready for Thursday night and Sunday and Monday NFL football. That's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove podcast.
From Belly Up Sports and the Belly Up Podcast Network, you're listening to the Sports Stove podcast with your host, Vince Stover.
Hey, good looking, what you got cooking? How's about cooking something up for me?
Welcome into an all-new edition of the Sports Stove podcast presented by Killer Jerky Company. That's right. We've got a jerky sponsorship. It's about time. And we're looking forward to partnering with Killer Jerky Company. Go to killerjerkyco.com. Use the code STOVE. You're going to get 10% off your purchase. Looking forward to getting some of this jerky in the mail. And I'll try it out and let you know how it is. We have a brand new partnership with them, and we're excited to be partnered with them. Again, go to killerjerkyco.com. Use the code STOVE. You get 10% off your purchase. It is football season. We grew up in Tennessee, or I grew up in Tennessee. It's football time in Tennessee. It's football time all across the nation. College football officially kicking off this past weekend. The NFL officially kicking off on Thursday. Finally, we've made it through the hard days of summer. We've made it to football season. Dad, how you doing? Welcome back.
Doing good. Like I said, it's exciting football season here. Had high school for a couple weeks and then college in a big way this weekend. And boy, now the NFL starting here just in days.
As exciting as the college weekend was, I'm so excited about the NFL being here. Questions being answered and intrigue. There's a lot of intriguing teams. We'll get to all those as well. But we can't just rush past college football. Week 1, we had week 0 2 weeks ago. It was fine. But week 1 delivered in several different ways. Let's start off with Georgia, Dad, absolutely dominating their former defensive coordinator at Oregon, 49-3. Should Georgia be number 1 in the rankings?
I think, it would have made sense. Of course, Alabama won Big 2. Of course, they didn't play a team like Oregon. So, Georgia, I mean, if you want to make a statement early in the year to handle Oregon like that, I mean, I don't think they left any doubt with where they're at. So that was quite impressive.
It was very impressive. Georgia, Stetson Bennett leading the way. The defense continuing, just picking up where they left off with last year. We don't know what Oregon is. Bo Nix is the quarterback there, so we have a little idea. But nonetheless, didn't look good for Oregon. Can they bounce back? Will be yet to be seen from there. Another top-ranked team that got beat was Utah, going down to the Swamp. Florida ends up winning 29-26 in that game. I was surprised by that, Dad. Now, I did say Utah would not repeat out west, but I did expect them to beat Florida, and Florida came out, and now they've got a Heisman hopeful at quarterback and Anthony Richards as well. So, I mean, that was an interesting game.
That really was, and that was, I think, a surprise to everyone. I'm trying to look. I don't have it in front of me, but I'm thinking when we picked games to watch, I may have mentioned Utah at Florida because going into the Swamp is kind of a hard place to play. But Florida, not really supposed to be a factor this year. But that was quite a start there, and I think that was definitely a surprise.
Yeah, and like I said, Anthony Richardson is really he's come on the scene now. He's a legit Heisman candidate. Early on in the season, a lot can change, obviously, over time. And we'll talk about Florida's next opponent here in just a minute. What other games from week 1 did stood out to you? I know Arkansas-Cincinnati was a good game. Outside of that, not a whole lot of great games necessarily, but some impressive wins. Anything that stood out to you in week 1?
Well, one close game, and again, our friend, the coach at Indiana, Coach Allen, that was a close game with Illinois. I think both are going to be improved from this, from last year there, and that was a good win, for Indiana. And yeah, the Arkansas-Cincinnati game, I wasn't quite sure how that was going to go. Arkansas, is supposed to be good; they usually are, but that was a very big win for them. We've talked about the SEC being, the dominant football conference, and boy, this is going to be quite a year, because if the first couple of weeks are any indication, had a lot of good teams in the SEC, that's for sure.
Yeah, a couple other teams I want to mention. USC wins 66-14 in Lincoln Riley's debut over Rice. Let's talk about Ohio State and Notre Dame. Early on, it was a really tight one. Ohio State ends up winning 21-10. Did that make you question either is Notre Dame better than you thought they were, or is Ohio State not as good as you thought they were, or did you come out thinking really no differently about either of those teams?
I think for me, probably Notre Dame's a little better than maybe I thought they were. I think Ohio State, it's very, very good, and I think they showed that. Around here, I think people expected, potentially a good game from Notre Dame. And, like I said, I wasn't as high on Notre Dame, but they've got a good team, so it's going to be an interesting year anytime you play them, it looks like.
Then the last team I want to talk about with week one was Clemson. They won big, 41-10. It wasn't pretty early on there either. The question mark still surrounds the quarterback situation. Of course, DJ Ugalele, or I always forget how to say his name, but he 19 of 32, 210 yards and a touchdown. Sounds decent. His QBR was 37.5 though. Then his replacement that came in after the game was kind of in hand was Cade Klubnik. He's a freshman out of Austin, Texas. He goes 4 for 6, 49 yards and a touchdown. There's a lot of people already saying that the backup needs to get playing time over DJ. We talked about this in our college football preview a while back. I still believe in DJ. What about you with Clemson? Do you think they need to make the change at quarterback?
No, I wouldn't. You wouldn't make a change yet, but the quarterback, like I said, I think is still a question mark from watching that game. I don't know. Clemson is kind of good. They're kind of Clemson everywhere else. Very athletic, well coached, but the quarterback, and again, he may come back and have a lot better games, but he didn't come out of the gate like I'm sure they hoped he would, or some fans. I don't think the idea of replacing him right now would make any sense. But again, if the quarterback behind him looks good, that'll be interesting. And Clemson has never shied away from going after, using the best quarterback.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they'll figure it out at some point in time. And if they make the change, I think they'll do fine. If they don't make the change, I think they'll do fine as well. But we'll see how that shakes out. As the season progresses, we know there's still a whole lot to learn about all of these teams. Let's talk about week 2 in college football. Oh, no, wait. Before we get to week 2, we got to talk about week 1 in college football. Florida State LSU comes down to it. And before we talk about it, let's get to our segment that we like to call the Call of the Week.
Vaughn into the windup in his first offering. Just a bit outside. He tried the corner in this.
Scramble to hold to send it to free football. Snap, spot, blocked! Yeah! It's no good! Yeah! It's blocked! Shaheed Brown got his mitt on it! Fire up the war chant and plant the spear! Knowles win! Mike Norton.
There you go. Knowles win on an extra point block. That's courtesy of ABC Sports. And the call there from the Florida State announcers where they the big block, big time reaction to it. You love those kind of calls in college football and any sports, really. The excitement there is there. Is Florida State back? That's the question, right?
Yeah, I again, both teams were pretty shaky as the game, unraveled there. I mean, early on, Florida State struggled as well as LSU. There were some bright spots, obviously, in both of them. But, yeah, I don't know that we know enough about Florida State to say they really righted the ship. hopefully they'll be very competitive as the year goes on. LSU be interesting. Looks like, again, we talked about the SEC is going to be really strong, and it's maybe a tough time for LSU. Of course, like I've said all along, I just don't see where this coach fits at LSU. So, and he's taken a lot of heat so far here. But again, LSU's got a great environment out there, and it'll be interesting to see. But they could have kind of a tough year, and of course, it'd be interesting to see his recruiting and everything as it goes on. Florida State, though, I think is turning the corner there, and hopefully they'll have a good year, because I'd like to see them, get back at least somewhat to where they were.
Let's move on to week 2. A couple big games, exciting games at the very least. One that I'm looking forward to is Tennessee at Pitt. Pitt won a close game against West Virginia. Tennessee took care of business in week 1, which hasn't been the case in the most recent years. Tennessee's getting a lot of hype. Pittsburgh's coming off of losing a quarterback, losing a receiver. Of course, they've replaced the quarterback, but nonetheless, that Vols versus Pitt is an interesting game to me, or at Pitt. That game there, you're wearing a Tennessee shirt tonight, so you must be all in. Tennessee looks like they're the real deal, right?
Yeah, it looks like they're definitely headed in the right direction. And this will be a real fun game, be a big game, because being on the road and against a team that's ranked higher than they are. Of course, Tennessee is ranked now also. This will be a really good test. They look really talented. It looks like they've improved areas they needed to, with offensive line. Looked like their defense looked good. And, of course, again, it's hard to tell, with Ball State. But going up there, playing on the road, again, Tennessee probably should be maybe a little more athletic. And we do think they're well coached. So this will be a good challenge. And if they go up there and win, then, boy, the hype is only going to build.
Yeah, they're the favorite, Dad. 6.5-point favorites on the road against the higher-ranked Pitt. That surprises me. I mean, I could see if it was like a 2-point favorite. 6.5 points, that's a touchdown favorite against a higher-ranked team on the road. Tennessee hasn't been that in a decade or two, right? Yeah. I mean, that's crazy. Now,
a lot of hypes. This will be a fun game.
Yeah, hopefully they can live up to it. That's a 3:30 kickoff on ABC. Bama goes on the road, too. They're facing Texas. They're getting all the hype this week. That's where the game day will be. I assume Alabama will come in and stomp Texas, but Steve Sarkisian, maybe he's got something up his sleeve for his old boss and Nick Saban. Do you think that game will be entertaining at all, or do you think Bama runs over Texas?
I mean, Bama probably ought to run over them. Now, again, being a Texas, if Alabama's what everybody says they are, then yes, they'll go in and they won't have any trouble on the road. In this one, I'm real interested to see how the young Texas quarterback does. We're all interested to see how good, is he going to be. And, of course, this will be a test, one of the best defenses in college football. So, be interesting to watch. I don't think Texas will win the game. If Texas could stay in the game, even for 3 quarters, that would probably give them confidence and help. But again, we'll see. Alabama could run in there and just run all over them. So that'll draw a lot of attention for sure.
Yes, it will. Number 12 ranked Florida is going to host number 20 ranked Kentucky. Florida, 6-point favorite at home. Again, they looked for real on this weekend, came out and won a big game against Utah. Kentucky's no pushover, but I think Florida should win this game, and it might really put a damper on Kentucky's season, losing to Florida this early in the season. But to me, Florida, they're legit. Kentucky has some really good areas, but they also have some gaping holes. And I know I'm not usually very high on Kentucky anyhow. But I think Florida takes this one. But that should be a good game as well. That's a nighttime ESPN kickoff, 7 o'clock. Florida, Kentucky. Who do you think comes out on top there?
Yeah, I think, again, Florida at home, that's always tough there. This will be a good chance for Kentucky to show, are they as good as they talked about being, or as people want them to be? Because Florida was a surprise. Of course, they're higher ranked now. And, if Florida could very easily or should win this one at home, and I do think that will be tough on Kentucky going forward. Because again, like we said, there's going to be really competition in the SEC. There's no easy games really, and so we will. We'll see. I'm sure Kentucky will be really trying to really be ready on this one. But being at Florida, and Florida, they're going to be fired up. That crowd there. So
yeah, it's a tough place to go in and win games at for sure. The nightcap 10:15 kickoff. The lower-rated BYU, 21 ranked against number 9 Baylor. BYU a 3-point favorite at home. So basically, they're saying these teams are even. To me, Baylor is one of these teams that has to show up and this is, in my opinion, a statement game for Baylor where they can come out and show everybody how for real they are. They played Albany in week 1, 169-10, but now they come out against BYU. Then they've got another cupcake after this one. But the Baylor Bears, the underdog against BYU. Surprised by that?
Yes. Yeah, a little bit, but again, BYU being at home, and BYU could be a really tough team. They've got some big games going on, so this will be a big game for them. But like you said, this is Baylor's chance to show, hey, they're for real before they get into conference play here. So there's some good games this week, and that'll be a good one to watch for sure.
Last one I want to talk about, Dad, is the unranked, undefeated Vanderbilt Commodores at home hosting number 23 Wake Forest. Vanderbilt seeking some respect in this game. A win over Wake Forest might actually get Vanderbilt sniffing the top 25. They are 12.5-point underdogs to Wake Forest at home. So far, Vanderbilt, I love the memes out there. People calling that they want Vanderbilt. They beat Hawaii 63-10. They beat Elon 42-31. Probably shouldn't have given up 31 points to Elon. But you go against Wake Forest at home. What's the chances Vanderbilt was overlooking Elon and comes in ready to go against Wake Forest?
Well, I think, from Wake Forest standpoint, I don't think they'll be overlooking Vanderbilt since Vanderbilt has been scoring a lot. And like you said before, we've always been hard on Vanderbilt. So it'll be very interesting to see. I'm sure we'll want to update them every week. And I wonder if we ought to have a special segment. I was trying to think if it should be the Anchor Down update or the Commodore thermometer and see whether they're hot or cold. But yeah, we've been so hard on Vanderbilt, we might give them their own little area here. But Wake Forest is supposed to be good. This would be a big win for Vanderbilt. And I think if Vanderbilt made it close, it would be a big thing there for them. But I'm sure, again, I'm not there anymore in the area, but I'm sure they're stressing, no moral victories they want to win. But it's this interesting thing, and I haven't kept up with it probably as much as you have, but they've scored a lot of points.
Yes.
And if they can score points, then the question will be, Wake Forest defense. If they go in and give up a lot, 30, 40 points, that'll be a real shootout. And like I said, Vanderbilt hasn't been having shootouts in years. So this is there must be something going on there, even though they may not have played the most talented teams to score that many points.
Man, I don't know if I like talking about Vanderbilt this much, but Mike Wright, the quarterback last week against Elon, he goes for 245 yards, 62% completion, 4 touchdowns. He was sacked 1 time there in that game. Game 1 against Hawaii, only threw for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. He ran for a bunch as well. But this kid seems like he's a legit quarterback in the SEC, 6'4", 195 out of Fayetteville, Georgia. And again, facing up against Wake Forest this week. Wake Forest, their quarterback has 3 less touchdowns and 100 less yards passing. Running the football, their leading carrier only has 100 yards, whereas Vanderbilt, their quarterback's their leading rusher, 247 yards and 4 touchdowns. The leading receiver for Vanderbilt has, good night, I can't do the math, maybe 70 more yards than the leading receiver at Wake Forest. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. I think it's actually one Vanderbilt might be able to pull off. Wake Forest played VMI week 1 and beat them 44-10. So they put up some points in that game. But, again, it's VMI, so what do you know? We'll know a lot more about Vanderbilt when this weekend's over, and maybe we'll go back to trashing them when this week is over. But it's been interesting to kind of see how they come along so far in this season. All right, let's transition to the NFL as college football has been entertaining. I will say this as well, that Eastern Kentucky University plays Bowling Green at Bowling Green Saturday at 4 o'clock. So good opportunity for EKU to come up. They lost by a touchdown to Eastern Michigan last week. All right, NFL, we're going to do our pick six. We'll start with our pick six, Dad. This year, here's how we're doing it. We're picking the Thursday night game, the Sunday night game, and the Monday night game. So we're picking all three primetime games, and then we'll pick three just our choice games as well to round out our pick six. So we'll have three games that we'll be picking the same. The other three we may pick the same, we may not. We don't know who the other one's picking until this show goes on. So let's start, Dad, with a Thursday night game, the NFL kickoff. The defending Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams hosting the Buffalo Bills, and the Buffalo a 2.5-point favorite over the Los Angeles Rams. Who are you picking on Thursday night?
I'll take Buffalo to cover on that. I think Buffalo is by far one of the teams to beat, and be interesting to see. I think they'll come out ready to play. So I'll go with Buffalo to cover.
Yeah, I think Buffalo wins that game also. And by more than 2.5 points. I think Buffalo's the better team. Los Angeles, I think, is going to need a little bit of time to get going this year, although they should still be good as well. The Sunday night game is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the Dallas Cowboys. At the Dallas Cowboys. Tampa is a 1.5-point favorite. We're using the runyourpool.com lines, by the way. Tampa Bay is the 1.5-point favorite over Dallas. One of our listeners told me he was able to listen to you hating on Dallas again this year in our NFC East preview. But what do you go with Dallas and Tampa week one?
I can't believe Tampa's only favored by 1.5. So I'll definitely go with Tampa to cover there. I think they're going to be a very, very good team, and I'm not sure where Dallas is. So I definitely would take Tampa Bay to cover there.
I think Tom Brady's distracted. He was gone from the team for 10 days just to hang out with his family, not even around a team for that amount of time. They have some new additions. They've got some injuries on the offensive line. I think Tampa's in for a rude awakening in week one. I go Dallas plus 1.5 here to win that game and win it by, I will even say, maybe 10 points, needless to say. Monday Night Football, Denver, Russell Wilson, you're having the opportunity to host his former team, the Seattle Seahawks. Denver is minus 6.5-point favorites. How do you go with Denver and Seattle?
There was a little bit of a big line, but I definitely will go with Denver over Seattle. I think Seattle's going to struggle. And there's a chance Russell Wilson will get more cheers than the Seattle quarterback will. So we will see from there. And I'll go with Denver.
Yeah, it's at Denver, so he should definitely get more cheers than the Seattle quarterback. But but that being said, I'm pretty sure it's at Denver. I guess I can check that right now. No, you're right. It's at Seattle. Good job. It's at Seattle.
Thank you.
But I think Russell Wilson goes off in this game. I think he may throw for 350 yards, close to 400 yards. I think he is just going to dominate this defense. So I am not even worried about the 6.5-point line. I'll take Denver there as well. All right. Now to the random picks. Who you got with your first pick here? And I guess it's the fourth pick technically.
All right. I'm going to go with an underdog here, and I think the Cleveland Browns will beat Carolina. So take the 2.5 points. And I think Cleveland is going to be ready to play. It's an interesting game, obviously, with Baker Mayfield or everything there. But I've got a good feeling about Cleveland in this one, and I'll pick them.
All right. And you said we had them at plus 2.5. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, Carolina's 2.5-point favorite.
All right. So that's an interesting game. I looked at that one, too. I chose to stay away from that one. I'm surprised you took an underdog, Dad. It seemed like you always kind of lean towards the favorites, but I took an underdog as well, and I'm going with the Jacksonville Jaguars, 3.5-point underdog to the Washington Commanders. I think Jacksonville comes out with a good start. They may lose this game, but if it is, it's going to be by a field goal. So I'm going to go with Jacksonville plus 3.5 versus Washington. I think a real underdog there as well. But of course, Cleveland not having a legit quarterback, Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, is a solid underdog pick as well. Who's your fifth pick?
I'm going to go with Green Bay over Minnesota, and they're favored by 1.5. This is a big game, and this is interesting. I mean, Minnesota's going to come out fired up, a new coach. Fans will be excited there, but I think Green Bay is ready to play, and I think the defense is going to be the deal here. I'm not sure this is going to be a high-scoring game on either end, but if Green Bay's defense can play anything like it looks like they can, then I think we'll be fine in 1.5. So I'm going to pick Green Bay.
I didn't pick that game in our pick 6. I did pick them in my the thing that I'm in with Run Your Pool, but this one scares me, Dad. I think it's gonna be a really slow start for the Packer offense. Rodgers has not played with these guys. You don't have Alan Lazard more than likely, as didn't even practice again today. There's a lot of question marks in that. I think they'll get it figured out pretty quickly, but I think it could be a sluggish start. I still picked them to win, but that one scares me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I think the defense should be great. I think Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon should be great. And maybe by the second half, Rodgers has it going. But, man, I mean, talking about Sammy Watkins, who he's never played with, Randall Cobb, who's old, and rookies who he's never played with, guys that haven't really been on the field much with them. That one scares me for sure. But it doesn't surprise me that you went with them as well. I'm going to go with a big favorite, Baltimore Ravens, -7.5 over the New York Football Jets. And Baltimore, Joe Flacco got announced as the starter for the Jets this week, and I immediately said, all right, I'll take whatever the line is. I'm going with that one. Baltimore, 7.5 over the Jets. That leaves you your last pick of the week. Who do you got?
Yeah, I looked over them, and I'm going to take an underdog again, and I'm going to take the Arizona Cardinals, getting 3.5 against Kansas City. I'm not sure Arizona will win, but they can get it within a field goal, and I'm going to go with picking Arizona with the points against Kansas City.
Yeah, Kansas City's another team that I'm not sure about yet. The more I think about it, the more I'm down on Kansas City this year. I think Patrick Mahomes has a ton of drama in his life with his wife and brother. On top of that, he loses an elite talent at wide receiver this year. He still has talent on the team. They could still win. I think that's probably a pretty good pick there, Dad. I'm impressed with that one. I went somewhere else with major underdog potential, and that is the other team in New York, the New York Football Giants, at +6.5 versus the Titans. I think the Titans win this game. I think the Giants, though, keep it close. So I'm going with the Giants +6.5. So my picks are Buffalo -2.5 over the Rams, Dallas +1.5 versus Tampa, Denver -6.5 at Seattle, Jacksonville +3.5 versus Washington, Baltimore -7.5 versus the Jets, and the Giants +6.5 versus Tennessee. So I've got 3 underdogs. Dad, you've got two underdogs.
2 underdogs.
Yeah, 2 underdogs. You've got Buffalo at -2.5, Tampa at -1.5, Denver at -6.5, Cleveland at +2.5, Green Bay at -1.5, and Arizona +3.5. And you can probably see different lines at different places, but nonetheless, the ones we're going with, that's what we found as well. So feel free to submit your picks on Twitter at SportsStove. We'll post this up. And feel free to post your picks as well, picking 6 games throughout this week as well. Let's look at some other games on the schedule, Dad. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Cincinnati at home, 6.5-point favorites over the Steelers. Always a crazy, competitive, physical game when these two teams meet. But Joe Burrow coming off a Super Bowl loss against Mitchell Trubisky and the Pittsburgh Steelers. How do you like that game this weekend?
Yeah, that's been interesting. I think Pittsburgh made a wise choice with Trubinsky, and of course, they've got a great running back and everything. But I think Cincinnati will be, ready to play. They've got a lot of talent, and I think we'll see if their offensive line is better, like it should be. Again, it's a big rivalry game, no doubt about it. But being at home, I think the Bengals hopefully will get off to a good start.
Let's just run through these games quick, and you can add anything you want to. I think New Orleans, Atlanta is going to be a fun game to watch. Jameis Winston with some elite talent around him in New Orleans. They are favored against the Falcons. I don't trust Marcus Mariota, but I'm interested to see Kyle Pitts and the progress he makes this year. Drake London as well added as a rookie. I think the Saints win this game, but I think kind of like that Cincinnati Steelers game, it's a different kind of game, but I think Saints-Falcons is always entertaining.
Yes, and like I said, to me, the big thing will be what's Marcus Mariota going to be like? Is he going to be at least a serviceable starter? Because they do have some great young players there, and same way, with New Orleans, New Orleans, with a new coach again. I think, and we know their defense is really good. I'm not ever convinced about Jameis Winston. But they've got some, they got Kamara, they've got some, more talent. So that could be a very interesting game.
Yeah, Mike Thomas returns at wide receiver. Chris Olave, the receiver rookie as well, in there. The Bears are playing the 49ers. San Francisco with Trey Lance at quarterback, a touchdown favorite at Chicago. I'm kind of all in on Trey Lance this year. I think he's going to have a good season, but game one won't be easy, although it is the Bears. It might not be that hard either. The Bears are going to be bad this year. I don't think there's any question about that.
Yeah, I think this is a good game for Trey Lance to get to start out with. And, the Niners shouldn't have a lot of problems here. It would be interesting.
Eagles go to Detroit to play the Lions. If Jalen Hurts is what many people hope that he is, they should dominate this game, but Detroit is hanging in there. Eagles a 4-point favorite on the road against the Lions. Dan Campbell, is he going to bite some kneecaps, or are the Eagles going to pull it off?
Again, if the Eagles will use their talent, if the Eagles are what they could be, then they'll handle Detroit, even on the road. I think everybody likes Campbell, and I think the thinking is, boy, we want the Lions to get to be better, and I think they could be, but the Eagles have much more talent and much more potential, but it's a road game, so we'll find out, and Jalen Hurts could either make a big statement or the big question mark heading into this next week.
Definitely. A team full of mystery with a cheating history. The New England Patriots travel to Miami to face the division foe Miami Dolphins. Dolphins 3.5-point favorite. They got some new weapons to go along with Tua and Waddle, bringing in Tyreek Hill. And I kind of lean towards Miami in this one. I almost picked it in our pick 6, but New England division foes, I don't trust Tua. How's that game going to shake out?
Yeah, New England, because they're at home, I believe, and that'll be – it's at Miami?
Yeah.
Miami then should be able to get the start that they want to get. They're supposed to be better. They have a lot of talent. Again, I'm a little bigger on Tua than you are, so I think Miami will have a good shot then if it's at home.
It does not take much to be higher on Tua than me. I'm probably the lowest on him. Ravens and Jets we talked about through our picks. Jaguars, Commanders, Browns, Cleveland, Browns and Panthers. Colts, Texans. I wanted to pick the Colts. I chose not to. I think they were 8.5 on our poll. They're 7 right now against the Texans. It's on the road in Houston. I just think the Colts are going to be good. And we know Houston, I don't think Houston's going to be horrible, but compared to most everybody else, they're just not going to be able to match up. So I think Indianapolis takes control early and kind of runs all over Houston with Jonathan Taylor. I think the defense is really good too, But I think Davis Mills comes out of this game looking pretty decent for Houston still too, and the Lovie Smith return to the sidelines. How do you feel about Indianapolis-Houston?
Yeah, I think the Colts, again, I think being the first game of the year, they should come out and really play. I think if it was a different game, this Texans could be one you would overlook a little bit. But again, Colts have a lot more talent, have a good defense, like I said, a great running game, and really anxious to see, I think quarterback will have a great year there. So hopefully Indianapolis will come out and look good.
Yeah, Matt Ryan, the new Indianapolis quarterback there as well. The only game we haven't talked about yet might be the most intriguing of the whole weekend. The Las Vegas Raiders travel to Los Angeles against the Chargers. A great way to end the regular season last year. Justin Herbert, Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, now on the Raiders. The Chargers, a 3-point favorite at home. So, again, they're saying that it's a pretty even game. Again, I think this is going to be a really fun game to watch, and we'll see if the Raiders are ready to go. It might take them a week or two to kind of get their legs under them as well, though, right?
Yes, yeah, a lot of talent in this game. And, so I think, I expect big things from the Chargers. So it'll be interesting to see if they get off to a really good start here. And, it'll be interesting to see on the Raiders. Again, I'm not big on the Raiders coach. I do like the quarterback and Devontae Adams, but it'd be interesting to see how that combination starts out the season too. There'll be a lot of eyes on that.
The Chargers defense should be incredible. Will they be, though, is the question mark there as well. There's week 1 games. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. I've got high school basketball practice while it's kicking off, but I'll watch the end of it, hopefully, there tomorrow. Buffalo and the Rams kicking us off in the NFL season. All right, let's get to the end of the year. End of the year for the NFL, Dad. Let's talk through the MVP race. And I'm curious about your MVP predictions. We're locking these in. You can't change it once you get it set. And the way that I asked you to do this was give us one quarterback MVP nomination and one non-quarterback MVP nomination. It's very rare, especially in today's day and time, for a quarterback to lose the MVP. But I wanted to split it up. So we're going to go quarterback MVP nomination, non-quarterback MVP nomination. So who's your quarterback MVP nominee this year?
Well, I'm going to take a little bit of a chance here because it'd be easy to just pick, the favorites that everybody's going to pick. But I'm going to go with a guy that I think will have a real bounce back year, and I'm going to say Lamar Jackson.
Interesting. Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens.
Yep.
I'm going with the guy that changed teams this year, and that's going to be Russell Wilson in Denver. I think if Denver wins the West, if they get 12 wins, it's going to be a lot because of Russell Wilson, I think. And I think that he would get a lot of look. He'd be a good story. A lot of people like Russell Wilson as well. And so I think there's potential there. Again, I'm thinking a little bit, trying to think outside the box. Josh Allen is a big one, of course. I think Tom Brady is one. Aaron Rodgers going for the three-peat, three years in a row possibly. But I'm going to go Russell Wilson as my quarterback MVP prediction. How about your non-quarterback? Who you got there?
Well, I think the obvious one is Jonathan Taylor. He should have a great year there. And I was thinking the other guy that I might have thrown in there would be Jamar Chase.
Interesting. Yeah, I thought about Myles Garrett in Cleveland, a defensive player. I thought about Aaron Donald in L.A., I thought about Derrick Henry in Tennessee. If they have another great year, Henry would be the reason for it. But I went with Jonathan Taylor also. There's no hiding it, my love for Jonathan Taylor. And so he's my pick there as well. How about Super Bowl picks, Dad? We got to pick who's going to win our AFC, who's going to win the NFC, and ultimately who's going to win it all. Let's see how homer we get here in this segment. Super Bowl picks, Dad. Who do you have?
Well, in the NFC, I'm going to be a homer because I really do think Green Bay, this is the year they can win this and get there. So I'm going to go with Green Bay in the NFC. And the AFC, I think I'm going to go with the Chargers, the LA Chargers getting into the Super Bowl this year.
Okay, so we got to clarify this. Why Green Bay? Why do you think this is the year for them when they've fallen short so many years previously? They lose one of their most dynamic offensive players in Devontae Adams. I think we agree on this, but why Green Bay? Why do you think they make it?
Well, I think the defense is a big part of it. They're trying to improve the special teams. In all honesty, Green Bay would have been in 2 or 3 more Super Bowls if it hadn't have been for the special teams, point blank. So I think that's going to be better. But this defense could really be special. And if that's the case, then Aaron Rodgers, like you said, will get it figured out. The 2 running backs are going to be really good. And I think, people say that, but I think knowing what LaFleur can do with them, it may put them in a whole different category, Green Bay offensively. And so, again, I think in the NFC, when you look at it, there's no reason that they definitely won't be one of the top teams. And I think this could be the year that they do it.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I know it's a homer pick, but I think the defense is the reason. I think you hit the nail on the head. This could be an elite defense in Green Bay. Best defense they've had since their last Super Bowl win. And, they got some depth in key positions as well. They're not deep everywhere, but they got the depth in key positions. Offensively, Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon are going to carry the load, and you're going to see Rodgers spread it out. You've talked about Robert Tonyan at tight end is going to have a big year. What they do at wide receiver, I don't know who to tell you is going to be good at wide receiver, but Rodgers will make somebody good this year too. So again, barring health issues, I think Green Bay is the team in the NFC as well. Now you picked the Chargers, Dad. I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts out of the AFC. I wanted to go Buffalo really badly, but so many people are picking Buffalo, there's no chance that they can make it. So I'm going to go with Indianapolis. Matt Ryan, an experienced quarterback, Jonathan Taylor, the best running back in the league. The defense, again, is really good. You talked about the Chargers. The Chargers have a great defense also, or at least they should. So I think when you're looking at Super Bowl teams, you've got to consider the defense situations. I think Cincinnati could be back. I think Buffalo's going to be right there as well. I think the Ravens could surprise a little bit. I don't think Kansas City's in the running for this. I really don't. The Chargers are an interesting team, though, but I'm going to go Indianapolis and Green Bay. And then I just can't pick against Green Bay. So I'll say Green Bay beats Indianapolis in the Super Bowl. Who's your Super Bowl winner?
Yeah, I would go with Green Bay over the Chargers there. Again, I think if Rodgers gets there, he knows how to win it. And so I'll go with the Packers. Okay,
so I know we sound like homers, but nonetheless, we can live with it. You can call me whatever you want to call me. I really don't care. I'm going with Green Bay over Indianapolis. And, of course, Dad being a minority owner of the Green Bay Packers, he goes Green Bay over the Chargers. Dad, let's talk a little baseball real quick, unless you got something else football-wise we need to talk about.
I'm sorry?
Do you have anything else football-wise we need to talk about?
No. I think we're good. Like I said, it's going to be a great week. I was kicking off the NFL and the college football same way.
All right, let's talk some quick baseball real quick, and then we'll be on our way. The New York Yankees are only now 5 games up on Tampa Bay. That's intriguing. The Yankees have had a rough go of it as of late. Then you've got Cleveland, 2 games up on Minnesota. Houston, 10.5 games up there against Seattle. In the wild card race, you got Tampa, Seattle, and Toronto in. Baltimore, 3.5 games back, still hanging on there for a possibility. But I think the top 6 right now, Toronto, Seattle, Tampa, along with Cleveland, New York, and Houston. I think that's your AL playoffs. I said a while back that I think the White Sox win the Central. I still think the Central is up in the air, but then none of them will get a wild card spot. So it's going to be the winner of the Central, then the Yankees, the Astros, Seattle, Tampa, and Toronto in the playoffs. Do you agree with that or disagree with that?
No, I agree with that. That's where I think it's going to be. Toronto's bounced back, and they should make the playoffs. Like I said, Tampa's an interesting team. It could be really good, to get in the playoffs there. And I think it's good for Cleveland to be there. Again, I don't know that they're going to do much in the playoffs. And you said all year the Astros were a really good team. So getting into the playoffs should be a good baseball playoffs, I think, this year.
Yeah, Houston in the 1 seed right now. They're about 5 games up on the Yankees there for the 1 seed. Who wins the Central? You said you think Cleveland finishes it out?
Yes. Yeah, I'll go with Cleveland on that.
All right. I'll stick with the White Sox just because I said it so long ago. That'd be great if it works out, and I'm right, but I'm not sure how that'll work out. In the National League, Atlanta has caught up with the Mets. They are tied. Philadelphia 11 games back. In the Central, it's St. Louis in control with Milwaukee 9 games back. The Dodgers in control in the West as well. San Diego 19.5 games back. Wild card race right now. Let's see here. You've got Atlanta or the Mets, whichever one. Philadelphia and San Diego in right now. Milwaukee's 3.5 back from San Diego and Philadelphia, so they can still catch the wild card. Does Milwaukee make it into the playoffs? Because, boy, I tell you right now, you just don't know what you're going to get from Milwaukee.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Like I said, I think Philadelphia is playing fairly well, so I think there's a good chance, they could stay in it. Same way with San Diego. So I think, the teams that are in it look like are in it right now. Of course, again, we've got 3 weeks left at least in the season, so a lot can change there. One little run can make a difference. And it'd be real interesting to see who wins the division over there with the Mets and the Braves, because the Braves really coming on again, being the defending champions.
Yeah, 7 straight wins for Atlanta. I've said the Mets finish it out and win, but Scherzer goes on the IL. He's going to be gone for about 2 weeks. That might be enough to let Atlanta finally overtake New York, and maybe Atlanta does win it. Who, if you're a betting man, who would you pick there, Atlanta or New York?
I think Atlanta, like I said, they're the defending champions and they've played well. They've stayed in this, and I think Atlanta could end up winning the East.
Milwaukee, I'm a Milwaukee fan. It's been a frustrating season. I'm going to say they're still making it in. They're not that far back. They have an opportunity here to at least catch one of those bottom feeders in Philadelphia or San Diego. I'm trying to look right now and cannot find. There it is. The Brewers' schedule for the rest of the season is, and in my opinion, it works out for them when it comes to getting in the wild card. They're not going to catch the Cardinals. They got San Francisco next up. They got a two-game series at Milwaukee. Excuse me, it's a doubleheader at Milwaukee on Thursday. Then they are home against Cincinnati, on the road against the Cardinals, home against the Yankees and the Mets before getting the Reds again, the Cardinals again, and then the Marlins. They close out the year against the Diamondbacks. So they've got some games they should be able to win, but they got some tough games too. I'll say they catch Philadelphia, but that's a lot of that's just fandom hoping that they catch Philadelphia, maybe more so than actually catching Philadelphia there as well. So we'll keep an eye on the baseball season, how it shakes out and how it ends out here as we are nearing the end of the regular season of Major League Baseball. And right as we're entering into the regular season of football, what an exciting time to be alive there as well. Dad, anything else we want to talk about before we go?
No, like I said, I really don't, because we're going to have a lot to talk about next week. So,
Yes,
the football season will provide a lot, and baseball keeping coming down here. And like I said, a lot of it would be to look at the schedules. To me, one thing that probably hurts the Brewers is they don't play the Padres or the Phillies, because the easiest way to catch somebody is playing them head-to-head. And that may not be in their favor, but they do have some games they can win. So, it'll be in a rain. Like I said, the American League Central, that could get real tight before it's over with. So,
yeah, it definitely could be an interesting ending to the year in a couple of those divisions. All right. Thank you to our new sponsor, Killer Jerky Company. Go to killerjerkyco.com. Use the code STOVE, STOVE, and get your discount there from Killer Jerky. They've got some gluten-free options. They've got some ridiculously hot options if you like hot stuff. And they've got your average flavors, your normal flavors as well. And I've heard some really good things about the Angry Teriyaki flavor. So looking forward to trying that at some point as well. So make sure you go to killerjerkyco.com. Use the code STOVE for 10% off your purchase. Our schedule will be just like this moving forward here throughout the football season. Me and Dad will be live on Wednesday evenings and available for podcast Thursday mornings. And then I do our local hour episode. It comes out Wednesday mornings on the podcast, as well as we continue to cover Eastern Kentucky University football. We've got our first live tailgate show coming up a week from Saturday at Mad Mushroom Pizza in Richmond, Kentucky at noon before the tailgating kicks off for the EKU football game. So if you're in Richmond, Kentucky or the surrounding areas, come down and see us a week from Saturday at Mad Mushroom Pizza as well. All righty, there you go. We've given you our picks for this week. We've given you our Super Bowl and MVP predictions as well. And, well, I don't remember, Dad. I think we've always been right. So I'm sure we're right again this year as well. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Sports Stove Podcast. Follow us on social media at Sports Stove on Twitter and Instagram. Until next time, we'll see you around the Sports Stove.